Alright, I guess we might as well go ahead and get started. Let's see, quite a bit going on in Viewerland. We are currently running with the Delta FPS viewer, and we have the extra FPS viewer out in RC. So for extra FPS, we're focusing on some key bugs that we're trying to get fixed, and the plan would be to get that out as the default viewer, promoted as soon as we can once we're happy with the state of the bug fixes. Um, the likely next viewer after extra FPS would be Mate B, which is going to combine work that we've had in the queue for quite a while. It was, originally flagged to go out with Mate B, along with any work that we've done since we cut the branch for extra FPS. So that's going to be some additional performance work and bug fixes. So that should be the next one that would be coming out with an RC once extra FPS gets promoted. Let's see. Also in the queue we have WebRTC. That is coming along pretty well, although we don't have a specific hard date on when that's going to be going out grid wide. We've run into a few snags recently that we want to spend a bit more time delving into, and also just have some other things going on internally that mean we don't really have time to do kind of the full press on it right now. But still anticipating that will go out grid wide, in the coming weeks and be a pretty significant change. We're already looking ahead to other interesting things we can potentially do using the technology once everyone has WebRTC and we have full control over what happens with voice and potentially other types of media. So watch this space for that stuff. We'll be talking about it more as we get farther along. Let's see other things. I think that's about it for upcoming viewers. Do we have somebody who wants to talk about the state of either graphics work or performance work in general?
I mean, we do have the alpha gamma stuff up on the Discord server for anyone who wants to grab that. Oh, am I too loud? Sorry.
Sound like you're clipping a bit.
Okay, let's see if this is any better. Um, yeah, so the alpha gamma stuff is up on Discord. You can also find some of the builds on GitHub as well. I did notice that at least one person was having some performance issues that I've not really been able to reproduce on my end, so I don't really know what's up with that. But yeah, uh, give it a go. Provide screenshots, results, etc. Also, it'll only work on one sim on a Diddy. We can expand that pool if needed. So yeah, I don't. My laptop doesn't exactly have a great mic.
Actually, it should be across most of Ryder's test channel at this point, since that's included in barbecue.
Oh, well, there you go. Nice.
All right. We do have one sort of group discussion topic on the agenda. Wanted to see what folks thought about, and that is questions around the tone mapper. Extra FPS has a new tone mapper. We've gotten uh, various feedback on it. Of course, even before that, we had other tone mappers, and folks had different opinions about those. So, it seemed like this could potentially be a good venue to get opinions from folks who, oddly enough, are involved in creating content. So let's see. Do we have Rye here?
Rye is,
On the way.
yeah, Rye's working on getting their voice fixed.
Ah, okay.
While Rye gets their voice up and running, Gainzer, do you want to talk about auto exposure? Because that's kind of in the same boat. Not yet. I think we're still waiting for Rye to get their voice up, but while Rye works on that, there are some new preferences in extra FPS for setting. Well, I thought they were in the tone. I thought they were in the UI, but they might not be there yet. That might be in develop. But there are definitely debug settings for setting your tone mapper. Those are, let's see, render. What is it?
Hello? Is it working?
Hello. Yeah, render tone map mix and render tone map type. Right, take it away.
I haven't been able to hear anything up until just
Okay.
now.
We were just talking about how there's a new default tone mapper and extra FPS, and results have feedback has been mixed, and that we want to get this group's feedback on the new tone mapper if they've seen it yet, and if not, please check it out and give us some feedback. I think that's about what we've covered so far, and I was going into what the UI changes were going to be, that they're in develop, but they're not in extra FPS yet, but there are debug settings to switch which tone mapper. But that is the direction that we're thinking about going, is letting people choose their tone mapper, and depending on how that goes, move those settings into Sky settings. So you'd be able to choose a tone mapper per parcel. I think that about sums it up. And Ryan, did you have anything, some details to add to that?
Let's see. And we covered what the new tone mapper was and all that. I
No,
think
we
several
didn't.
times.
Nope.
Okay. Let's see. So the new tone mapper is the Chronos neutral tone mapper. It's a bit brighter, more vibrant. Let's see. Can I find a link? Let's see. Where's the press release? Okay, here's the press release. Yeah, so this is the new default tone mapper. It's generally brighter. Colors are more vibrant, but colors can also shift and be quite different. So that is something that I would like to get some feedback on. And that's about it.
So curious of folks who've looked at the different tone mappers for, delta FPS versus extra FPS, opinions on what's better, what's worse, should be using some third completely different tone mapper, any feedback along those lines?
Uh, yeah, what Brad was talking about. Once it gets to sky settings, there's some different ways that we can handle the user side preferences. So like in advanced preferences, you might see an option for use this tone mapper, use that tone mapper, or let the sky setting decide. With it defaulting to let the sky setting decide. What do you mean by more lights? I mean more than unlimited lights? Or do you mean more lights on alpha? Or do you mean more light types? Okay, for more lights on okay, GLTF punctual lights will come with GLTF scenes. More lights on alpha might come at the same time, because while we're in there adding light types, it might be a good time to do punctual lights. Or do sort of a forward plus style renderer for alpha, so it's not just the 6 closest. But yeah, we definitely want to get to a place where if you have an object that's opaque and you have an object right next to it that's like 1% transparent, they should look the same no matter what the lighting situation is. We're not there yet. It's going to take some work. I thought we fixed the moon getting dark at the horizon. Did that come back?
I don't think we ever got rid of it darkening at the horizon. We just fixed it being overly dark.
It looks much darker than its reflection in that image, which is kind of a weird effect.
Yeah, that's a bug. I swear we fixed that one. Question from YouTube. Will there be more options for bomb channels soon? Like on eyes, to have different colors so we can phase out appliers?
I'm not sure if I understand that one. We already have bomb channels for eyes.
They want left and right.
Oh, they want the eyes to be different.
Right. Because you can only
Ah.
do that with the eyes currently if they're set up like that. So they want the ability to just add a new auxiliary layer or a bomb layer to change the other one independently.
Yeah, we do have some sort of multi-purpose channels like the aux channels, but yeah, we don't have dedicated separate ones for the eyes. Yeah, interesting question. I think the next time we look at this, probably we're going to be doing something where we kind of rethink the idea of channels and make it more flexible. but we don't have anything in the immediate pipeline to change the current set. It would actually be interesting to have a feature request for that to specifically identify the use case of wanting to support different eye colors or whatever, and then we could have that in the queue when we're considering what to do next.
If it's okay to bring up that there's a bug with the SL viewer, I was told in the SUG meeting, I think it's called, to bring that up here because there'd be more of you here that could deal with it.
We try not to admit to having any bugs in the SL viewer, but yeah, I guess this was.
Okay, so I worked out that the reason that I was so upset about local chat and not having a chat bar, which I still want a chat bar, is because I thought that it was all related to how the SL viewer works. But I've since found out that if you have bubble chat activated, which I can't function without it, it doesn't give you local chat or IM toasts at all, as you can see in that comparison GIF. That's me on the left on Firestorm talking to me on the right on the SL viewer, well, old, sassy. And as you see, nothing happens. So that's a bug.
So in the right-hand case, you have bubble chat turned on. Is that right?
Yeah, bubble chat's turned on in the SL viewer, which I can't function without bubble chat because it allows you to know somebody's talking who might be slower than, normal batting it out, or you might see somebody talking that you realize is out of chat range, so you can move closer to them to communicate, etc. All of those things come up in customer service, but also when dealing with new residents and so on. And it just doesn't, you don't get anything. And then it just makes a big mess of text above people's heads instead of putting it in local chat.
Neat. Is that in extra FPS or Delta FPS?
What?
Is that in the current RC or is that in the current release?
I would say it's been for over a year, so it's all the
Oh.
viewers. Yeah, because
Oof.
the whole time I've been mentoring, I thought that it was SL Viewer. Like I thought that that was how the SL Viewer was. So that's why I kept bringing up the chat bar being the issue that I was dealing with, because I thought that the behavior was that, but it's bubble chat. Because as soon as I turn bubble chat off, I get the toasts.
Okay, that sounds like a great thing to have a bug report on then.
Yeah, it looks like we got a QA blind spot.
Yeah. It may just be we're not testing with bubble very often.
Sure. They don't like me over there. Yeah, I do that, Atlas, thanks. But they said to bring it up in a meeting so you all knew.
Yeah. I can't even find the button for it. What's it called?
It's actually called bubble chat. It's really hidden.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So if you activate it now, tell us when you activate it. If everybody
Okay,
just
yep,
types
I got it.
bubble, Okay, everybody type in local. You should have nothing.
Yeah, that's huh.
And even IMing you, if you've still got it on, you wouldn't get the pop-up. So I thought that the way the SL Viewer worked, because I hadn't used it for years, was that you had to click the chat button because that was the only way to access any local chat or IMs. So I was constantly like, sorry, this is actually years, because even when I was doing customer service, I would not know the customers had IM'd me if I was on the viewer doing beta stuff for like Bento and Bomb and stuff. And I would get really upset because I wouldn't have any indication I'd been IM'd.
Well, that's neat. Okay, yeah, we definitely need to get an issue on that. Yeah, I don't know if you caught it last week or last time, but the big regression test that we do to check all the features in Second Life to make sure they still work is 400 hours long. Um, and even with that, there's still some stuff like that that slips through.
Yeah, it turns out we have a lot of features.
That one just really is helpful. I mean, I know people seem to not use it so much. That's why it hasn't come up sooner, I guess. But it really does help, especially the
Yeah,
whole.
and in fact, now that I even say that, I bet you a Coke that there's a bug that's been sitting on the backlog for a year.
Okay, I'll do a canny. Thank you.
But having a fresh one is a good way to poke that ant's nest again. Not that I'm encouraging people to file dupes. Yeah, I did want to circle back to the subject of tone mapping because there was a little bit of discussion on there about whether or not to apply it per parcel. Because this seems to be one of the things that's tripping up artists is, you know, if users can change their tone mapper, then how do I make sure my stuff looks correct? Um, and since tone mapping is such a subjective thing, and since Second Life content is so diverse, and you know, some people want realistic, some people want cartoonish, some people want like sci-fi cool blues, and some people want like nostalgic, warm sepia tones. Um, that also gets into the realm of color correction. Um, so what are people's thoughts on that? Because our options are to just like pick one, and that's what everybody gets, or we leave it up to the parcel owner and they get to put one in their sky settings, and people can override that with their sky settings, or we make it entirely client side and people pick whatever style they want SL to be, and then we just apply that at the end of the render
Will
pipe.
it be like Eve's? Will it be like Eve settings, or will it be really complicated for like end user perhaps doesn't understand what tone mapping means?
Yeah, like UI to be determined. I don't think we'd make another asset for it, like how water settings are separate from sky settings in EEP. But let's see, world environment, environments, settings. Pick one. So we got atmosphere and lighting tab, clouds tab, sun and mood tab. Might add another tab for tone mapping and color correction and exposure. Geens or Ryan, did you want to talk about the controls that are there so far?
And I can talk about the upcoming exposure stuff. Like,
Yeah, and keep in mind that this is all trying to fix the problem of Second Life is too dark, and some people like the tone mapper and some people hate the tone mapper.
right. So like the exposure control stuff is useful for people who want to like brighten and darken scenes dynamically and be within certain thresholds. Right now we're looking to have like a min max offset sort of deal going on. So like your offsets like your central pivot, and then min and max just kind of tick it up or tick it down based upon wherever the dynamic exposure stuff is set to. Well, it is your dynamic exposure, so which should help brighten scenes, darken them where you want them to be darkened, in combination with color grading and tone mapping as well.
Yeah, and there's also the color correction lookup textures. I don't know a ton about that, but it's I know the technical implementation basically lets you make a lookup table. So after all the rendering is done, before the final image is presented, you can swap any color for any other color. Just about. It's not quite that precise. It does have to be on sort of a gradient. But I'm not sure what all effects you can do with that. Rye, do you know?
So you can do a lot of kind of different color effects with it. You can bake tone mapping into it. You can crunch colors down. You can use a super low resolution one to just kind of like make colors crunchy. There's all kind of different kind of effects you can pull off.
Is it the kind of thing that can make something look a little bit toon shaded?
Yeah, you could in theory use it to kind of flatten the color of the scene.
Yeah, so, and that's where I really like the idea of doing it per parcel. So when you go to a sim that's themed out to be more anime style, they can crush the colors of any content that comes in. So no matter where you are, you're on theme. You know what I mean? Like artists don't have to build that kind of crushed color into their content. They can make their content capable of looking good and the more photorealistic environments, but then that same content becomes usable in environments where that would be off theme to be realistic. I don't know. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah, we need a default that we can calibrate our content against. Like, otherwise it's going to be like, you know, like the mesh body situation. Now we're going to have to list all the different calibrations our content works with. And like, nobody cares about PBR really, so like, then it's like another layer of difficulty we're going to put over that with like what tone map we're to use.
Yeah, and that's some of the negative feedback we've been getting on changing the default. Is we were just getting used to this. Now it's gone from aces to Chronos neutral. Should we really be changing the default before giving people the ability to switch?
Shouldn't this be like, can we not like get some kind of like upgraded like heap setting or something for people to play with and put it in the sky rather than that? Like can the tone map be built into like the sky? So that kind of override.
Yeah, and the short answer is yes, but not in 2 weeks. But you can get the client side options in 2 weeks.
Why does it have to be done in 2 weeks' time?
Well, it doesn't have to be.
I mean, for the long haul, it needs to be good, doesn't it? For like, it doesn't really matter how long it takes if it's going to be here for the long haul. People are going to use it and enjoy it. It should be like friendly, not some kind of like technical thing that nobody understands.
Okay, so that gives us options. One option is to not ship any changes to tone mapping until we have it in sky settings. Another option is to keep the defaults where they're at, but add settings to advanced graphics for people who are not liking the default look of things. And the third option, which is what we're doing right now, is we're changing the defaults and the next release, and we're adding UI to advanced preferences in the release after that. And then doing sky settings maybe at some point in the future after we see what people think of the advanced settings. Of those three, which would people like better? I should probably write that down. Hey, don't change it. Stick with aces. Whoop. Shift enter doesn't do what I think it does. B, add new settings, keep existing defaults. C, add new settings, change defaults to Chronos neutral.
What's going to be the outcome of changing it though? Is it going to break all the PBR content that exists now?
No, depending on your opinion. But, I mean, I'm using it right now and everything looks fine. Half the people you point it to seem to think it looks better. A minority seem to think it looks worse, and another minority seem to think it looks about the same.
I think that what creators are often coming up against is they're really stuck in the what are they going to release and how is it going to look to the end user, because it's not going to look how they photograph it for their vendor image if the person puts it on or reses it and their settings are not even close to the same. So it's still making a lot of people on social media, SL people on social media, say things against PBR usage entirely. They're just too scared at the customer service backlash because of that. So I think that there's just a lot of communication still lacking on what is what. So if there's something that's going to change things again on top, that's quite scary for people.
Yep. Looking at some of the comments here. It is true that if we're going to change the default, the sooner would be the better. And I like Joe's point that a Chronos standard is probably a good way for us to go.
That's industry standard. That is the best way to go. If it's going to mean that people that create outside of SL might actually consider walking in the door because of it, then that's a benefit to all, I think, as well.
Right. Yeah, and Rye, what would you say the main difference is between Chronos Neutral and Aces, just aesthetically?
Asus is just it's much more filmic style, and Chronos Neutral it makes things more kind of colory, poppy, vibrant.
Yeah, because one of the big things we're dealing with is the feedback that Second Life is darker. And a lot of that is coming from the way Aces treats dark colors, like the darks become very dark. And I'm not sure what the curve looks like exactly with Chronos Neutral, but subjectively it does look like the darker areas aren't quite so blacked out.
I've got to really ramp up the probes, you know, to get the foliage not looking black. Otherwise, you know, only you know, like 5 meters away from it, my forest has gone black. It's been a bit of a pain.
I think dimness, excuse me, sorry. I think dimness seems to be the big problem. Like, for instance, if you go to World Environment and you choose the midday setting that's supposed to have everything look great, that's PBR, because that's the setting you created, it's dimmer. So things just feel gloomier overall. And I think that that's what people have a real issue with as well. They
Yeah, and
really
with
want
the
the one
and a lot of
setting.
that's the tone mapping. So the way the viewer was translated into PBR was to make sure that the colors matched in linear color space, and then apply a tone mapper on top of it. That was probably not, I shouldn't say PBR, that was more HDR. So it's probably not the best way to go about it, without some additional exposure adjustments.
People are also not using the thing you provided as well for Substance as their environment setting. They're not using the SL midday environment. They're still using the panorama and
Right.
grayscale version of panorama and things that they're comfortable with because it looks good in Substance and it makes them happy. And then, when they get in World, think some more press
I've only found one
comparison.
site to be usable, to be honest, out of all of them.
I didn't hear that properly, Cube. What was that?
I've only been using actually Jenner Huntsman's free midday sky. I've been exclusively using that because everything else kind of doesn't look as good to me. Like the midday is very sort of like the shadows are very dark, isn't it? But yeah, I really like Jenner's. Everything else doesn't like, it just doesn't look like a sky. Like the sky here doesn't look right, does it? For example, it's crazy.
It was more about the fact that there's no standard. If Jenna's one is great, I'm all for trying that one out too. If Jenna wants to share it and things like that, yeah. So if people aren't even aware that there was a midday that you did provide, is kind of the problem there as well. Because I've seen a lot of chat in the different platforms, and you'll see them mention an environment, and it's just, they weren't privy to that info. So I just think it's a missed opportunity to get more information out there to the masses with a blog post or something, and then that gives you the opportunity to let them know about the Chronos, maybe show some examples of what an item would look like using both processes. Need to carrot and stick these people.
A lot of the skies I've tried out that have been sold as PBR just make things worse, really. And colors really complicated. Like I bought a calibration chart this week to like set my colors or to at least get some kind of baseline of what real life's like, and it just blew my mind how like I've been eyeballing stuff and I've been like miles away from what it is in reality.
Yeah, and let me speak to Joe's point, that the general idea of GLTF PBR is that everybody's renderer matches. Yes, but the GLTF spec specifies what the linear color output should be. It doesn't specify how you take that linear output and display it on your screen. And even in the sample GLTF viewers from Chronos, there's a variety of tone mapping and exposure options you can pick from. And that is a mind block that can be difficult for artists to get around, is that we're promising that the non-tone mapped linear color will be on spec, but what tone mapper and exposure and color correction people put on it after that will change from one setting to the next. I don't know what the best way is for an artist to work in that environment. I think the best way for an artist to work in that environment is to make it look the way that they want it to look with their tone mapper of choice, and make sure that it looks the way they want it to look in world with their tone mapper of choice, and then let their customer use their tone mapper of choice, and it should look the way the customer wants it to look.
I personally made my first PBR just recently. It was just a tumbler and it was for Halloween, so it was predominantly black, which made things easier. But I had to spend a lot of time in Second Life with the item and Substance Open, and then just keep changing it and altering it. Yay, Premium Plus super textures. Um, but it was hard, and that's with black. Black and white and black and purple. It was just, it was difficult. And so people that want gold and silver and pink and, browns, and it's such a lot. And I know we've discussed this before about how you guys are all behind the scenes guys and you can't really do the video thing, and it's just hard for so many content creators to get it right, not be afraid of it, need some help.
Yeah, I think per parcel makes the most sense because there's no unified art style of Second Life. Different settings want different tones, and a lot of that is from the color correction map. I mean, the most glaring example I can think of in pop culture is like friggin' Minority Report. It's the future, everything's blue.
Right, so like if you make your, are you saying like if you make your meshes and materials to like a baseline of like what it would ordinarily be like if, unless it was a stylized asset, it should work across all tone mappers.
Right. We know that what you absolutely do not do is bake the tone mapper into the base color. Like you keep the base color pretty, well, specifically the spec says that the base color map is, it's an sRGB encoded linear color.
I have another PBR question. We've brought it up before though. The edit menu PBR. Why is alpha not just an alpha numbers sort of game like Bling Fong?
What do you mean?
Set 15% transparency to something anymore.
Oh, where, no, what's it say in the,
Blend and then, or sorry, maybe I'm saying that wrong. Hold on.
yeah, I gotta bring
I
up
don't have something. Yeah, me too. Sorry. It's just I was having real difficulty, say, like, with this can is an open and close option. And so I couldn't make it in PBR because of the bugginess of that. But it actually wasn't. It wasn't to do with the, sorry, it wasn't to do with the percentage so much. It was just the fact that you have to go into blend and then set it for the alpha to 1, and then but scripting that is complicated. But then also to know that you have to drop from opaque to blend for a customer is a bit different than before. It's just a bit harder.
Yeah, we're still waiting on everybody to be on PBR enabled viewers before we start making BlendFawn LSL implicitly modify and access the PBR LSL.
Right.
That number is going down every day. as the number on PBR goes up every day, but it's not low enough yet that we can just make scripts that used to modify blend fawn stop modifying blend fawn, because everybody's still making blend fawn fallbacks for the minority that are not on PBR yet, while we work out these performance issues and some of these aesthetic issues that we've been talking about.
Fallback content is separate though. I'm finding that a lot of people are doing a PBR version and a classic version, so it shouldn't affect.
For other stuff, people are making a version that has the blend fawn fallback on the object itself. So if people are doing builds that are meant for large events in particular, and they want to use PBR in those events, then the objects on the ground will have a blend fawn material that looks close to the PBR material, and their scripts need to be able to change both independently. So
That's such a minority though.
It is, but it's a minority we have to support for a little while longer.
Right.
But yeah, I hear you on that material editor being not intuitive.
Doesn't seem to be working at all.
Sorry, what?
Glow doesn't seem to be working at all.
Oh, did Glow break?
As for me, I'm not sure about anybody else.
Oh no.
Anybody make something glow?
Wait, not that. Oh my gosh, Glow isn't working.
I'm sorry. I feel like the bearer of all the bad news
No,
today.
This is why we're here. This is why we're here.
Who's doing those 400 hours? Because, like, seriously, I'm here about that much. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you set glow on a PBR material, it's supposed to glow, and it's not glowing.
And where did Fulbright go? What happens to Fulbright?
Fulbright is supplanted by emissive. So set your emissive tint to white, you get Fulbright. Or put your base color texture on your emissive texture and set the emissive tint to white.
That'll be very Fulbright if you set it to white.
Yeah.
Be like,
It's one of the things that we've found really hard with photography, and like vendor images. A lot of people used to take photos against Fulbright so they could cut them out afterwards and stuff, and Fulbright's just broken for regular blend fawn now because of PBR. You can't get it to not be, you can't get a white thing that used to be Fulbright to be not grey now. So if there's a way to have a backdrop be Fulbright again, even if it means using PBR, that is a plus, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, and to Joe's point, PBR does have a glow. The GLTF spec exposes glow and emissive strength, but indirectly. And we have done, Keynes has done some work on adding support for emissive strength. Trying to find the piece of sample content URL real quick.
Yeah, and to be clear, like how emissive strength mechanically works, it just multiplies over like whatever your emissive is. So you can have like a factor of 2, and now it's twice as bright, and now it can glow or something like that. So
Here it is, emissive strength test. So the spec actually lets you pick one if you want to do it just the plain way where you just multiply the intensity. Sorry, multiply the color. And then that also allows you to apply a bloom effect when emissive strength is high. I can't remember which one we were going for. I know that the ask was for the bloomy one, but I don't know if we're doing the bloomy one.
Even something like that then on the SL website would help somebody understand something. You know, like more is helpful than.
Yeah, and we're not there yet. That comes with GLTF scene support. For right now, what's supposed to happen is you apply glow in the texture editor, the texture tab, and it does that bloom effect, but it's not like the GLTF on spec emissive strength. It's our legacy glow shader just on top of what your GLTF colors are. That's what it's supposed to do. I don't know when that broke, but thank you for letting us know it broke. And I hope it wasn't Delta FPS. Are you on the RC or are you on Delta FPS?
I'm on the beta. Oh no, I'm on Firestorm at the moment. Sorry.
Oh
So
no.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I know that it was definitely August, September. It wasn't working for me.
Okay.
But
That's supposed to work. Okay.
We're just about at time here.
Yeah, we are. We didn't get a chance to talk about AI.
I did mention in text chat that we're investigating multiple possibilities, but yeah, we didn't go into a lot of details there. Yeah, that's true. The last time was, I think AI can turn into a bit of a wrangle if we go too far off the rails. Anyway, thanks for coming by, everybody. I think we had a lot of good discussions today, and looking forward to updating you when we get the extra FPS out. I think that'll have some nice additional improvements.
Yep. Thanks, folks. Don't forget to put a little dirt under your pillow.
Is that a is that a spooky time reference?
yeah, I didn't get it either. What does it mean? Don't go. Tell us.
Tune in next meeting to find out what the heck Dave was talking about.
Put a little dirt under your pillow for the dirt man.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So it's not about growing potatoes in bed or anything.